if you would say that you're to yourself that you're doing average, then that means you ain't giving it. You ain't pushing. My question, is it okay to be average? I'd be as bold to say, for you to stop knowing that you were made for more. You're not only cheating yourself, you just said to God, nah, forget your plan.
Yeah. I'm like,
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. We are glad that you are joining us. We are post 100th episode.
100 episode.
It's a big accomplishment, man.
Yeah, it is. We appreciate you. If you've been watching this since we were in Rodney's home, then I appreciate you for hanging in, sticking in, like listening to this content because we really do. We care about this stuff.
Yeah. And for the ones that didn't, go back and check out some of those earlier episodes because it's always cool to see the progression.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny you talk about like starting out in the dining room, then headed to the other spot at Cabizo's, then the basement.
Yeah.
We even had the barbershop routine. Then we hit a couple of spots, cigar bar, man. Yeah, it was a podcast with travel.
Yeah, so, well, I guess speaking of something along those lines, this episode I kind of threw in the chat to talk to the fellas about, and it's all centered around a question, right? Is it okay to be average? And kind of the inspiration, before we open it up, the inspiration for it was I was having a conversation, and the person in the conversation, they had said, I was kind of describing like, career path. I was kind of describing like what normal is in life. People go to school, graduate from high school. The idea is they should go to college, get a degree, get into a job, stay in that career for 30 years or whatever, retire. They live on pension, that kind of thing. I was explaining that. I was like, okay, average. And then also like the variances of it. And she said, oh, well, I'm pretty average. And then when I broke it, it bothered me that she would even say it. It bothered me that she would just claim, oh, I'm average. Because it felt so wrong to admit something like that. And it was because, like, I know the person. I'm like, no, you don't fit the picture. You might, maybe in this area of life or maybe in this area of life, but you don't necessarily fit the picture of average. And you should double check what average is before you claim something like that.
Yeah, it's funny. My mind went from one place to another as you were saying that. And the first place it went was like, you talk to your friend, like you say, hey, this person has more potential, but they're settling for being what you call average. But if a person is doing their max and that's all they got, that's their ceiling, then what might look like average to the world might be their exceptional. You know what I mean? And I think that, so we got to, put it into context. So I take what you said as far as, hey, there's more on the meat. I mean, there's more meat on the bone. There's more potential, but you settling for less than what you can really do.
I think one of the biggest issues with our world today is comparing ourselves to others, right? So we use track as a perfect example where you're competing with yourself daily. Like you're on a team, but you're competing with your individual times. Everybody's speed threshold is different, right? And I think this is a very important lesson that all people should get. Hopefully when you're young, but sometimes you got to get this lesson later in life. Sometimes you need a reminder, but your biggest competition should be yourself. So if we're thinking in that vein, calling yourself average, when you're competing against yourself, that means you got more in the tank.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, if you are at an average level, which, I mean, was that like a 70% capacity? That means you got 20% that you could really push out. Yeah. Now, if you're saying, all right, I may be average, on XYZ metrics compared to what the world is saying, then that's a different level. But one thing that I heard when I was young, and I'll just reiterate it, is comparison is the thief of joy. You know, so when you compare yourself to others, it kind of whatever you're doing, it could sway what it really is. Because like what you said, the key part that I heard was, you know, this person, you're like, you're not average by any means, but that's you seeing them and just knowing like what you see in them.
It made me think, and you were saying this, Mike, too. I playing basketball. I loved to play basketball growing up, but I wasn't no superstar. I mean, I didn't jump out the gym. I wasn't dunking on folks. I ain't had these crazy handles and nothing like that, right? So in one respect, it was like, okay, maybe I'm an average player. But in my mind, talk about competing with yourself, that wouldn't sit with me. I'm saying, you know, I can be exceptional somewhere in my game.
Yeah.
So guess what? I worked on defense a lot. And actually working on defense got me a lot of easy baskets. I mean, you know, so I'm like, okay, I had the quickness. I got hand speed. I was good at stealing the ball, doing this, baiting people when so the point is that we can find something we're exceptional at and develop it. We can always get better at something. Even, you know, I guess here's the point. When you're competing with yourself, you're going to find something to work on.
I think so first to your point originally of, okay, if you would say that you're to yourself that you're doing average, then that means you know you ain't giving it. Like you ain't pushing. And to that is like, so what do we want? Like, what is it? Because it bothers me the people who know that they're not doing it, but they complain about that they're not getting the result of doing more, right? And then there's the other group who is like, they are pushing, but their comparison is you're thinking about Sidney McLaughlin, and you're an 8th grader in high school. You think you should be in the Olympics. And so like on those two sides, there's a different kind of perception of average. One of them is causing depression. The other one is more driven by complacency. And so like my question, is it okay to be average? I think that's something that you definitely got to ask yourself. And when you answer that, is it like, what side of that are you on?
If you self-prescribe yourself as average, I don't think that's okay. Okay, if you self-prescribe, and we both have said it, right? Said that you already made up in your mind, I'm not going to do any more than this. You know, so that right there, the answer is that way. If that in your mind, like, hey, I ain't going to do nothing else, you know, this is all I'm going to do in life right here. I want to be, think about careers or the marketplace, right? If you say, you know what, my goal is to get to be, I don't know, the head grocery bagger at Kroger. That's my goal. And you get that. And you say, I ain't doing nothing else other than that for the rest of my life. Then you settling on being average. Maybe you could actually be the manager of the store.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe you could actually get your own store. You know what I'm saying? So we should never be satisfied with staying in one place.
I think, and so like, and see, that's interesting. That's an interesting point because you could, there could be the guy who, okay, my goal was to be the financial executive manager at X, Y, and Z financial branch, right? He rose the ladder. Mm-hmm. He got to his spot. Now, and he's got 2 beautiful kids. One of them, Tommy's in soccer practice. Rebecca just does gymnastics, and they have a great time. And he's like, this is what I wanted to get to. Mm-hmm. So now he just said, we've come in the break. Oh, no, hey, big dog, you did it. You did what you needed to do to get there, right?
I think this is funny because this kind of ties into a previous conversation that we were having about leadership. And I think it was a question asked, like, is everybody meant to be leaders? And we had a really good, robust conversation where it's really based on how you look at it, right? Now, we know that we all have leadership capabilities that were built in us just based on us being human beings and the biblical makeup of a human being and the likeness of creating the likeness of God. However, I do believe it's certain capacities and roles that come within that leadership. Some people may be very well suited to be a leader of technology where, you know, they're controlling all of these robots and everything, but they may not be great with people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may be a David type makeup where, you know, they're meant to be a general of warriors. Like, you know what, we have a cadre of specialized warriors, and then we got one guy that's like the tip of the spear. Like, this guy's the guy. That's a different type of leadership. Which one is better? Which one is greater? It all depends, you know? So, and this goes back to that whole, like, how do you define leadership? Because if you're giving your best effort every day at the grocery store, you're bagging,
Yep.
you're making people feel good, you're leaving little notes, and people are just lining up like, no, hey, we got a lane open over here. No, I want to go to that guy's lane. Like, because that you're like, you know what, this is my purpose, and I'm giving my best every single day. And where did this guy come from? Maybe this guy was homeless 10 years ago. So to them, having a steady paying job, they may say, you know what, I love it here. To me, it's like anything that you find true happiness and just showing up every day, giving your best ever. That's really where you're meant to be as a leader.
And, you know, don't get me wrong. I know what I think I hear what you're saying. I want everybody to know this too. I'm not saying it's bad to be somewhere forever. I've been at my job for 31 years, okay? But it hasn't been the same job for 31 years. The point though, that if you, to your point, Mike, if you coming in, you love what you do, you living in your gift, hey, that to me, that's not where I'm thinking about average. This is someone who's coming in and they know they got more in the tank. I look at it like grades. I remember, you know, my parents come to school and the teacher said, yeah, you know, Rodney can do a lot better. I'm like, what you talking about, you know? And the reason why is because I was not putting forth the effort to do better. Now, if I was putting forth we talked about this a while ago, if I was putting forth the effort and then that was the grade I was getting, the teacher would be like, hey, he's doing the best he can do. And this is what it yields. So it's really, when I'm thinking about average, at least how to frame it, and at least in my mind, is when you are, and you said it, somebody said it, you're not giving it all. You might, in your mind, act like you are, but people see, you know, and we all play sports. I mean, I remember when I used to wrestle, my coach, I'm out there sweating, I'm like, you know, hurting all this, and the coach, like, he said, you got more. And I was like, what you talking about? To me, I got more. But he was right, you know, so you get the message, you're like, oh man, you realize, oh, he was right. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I ain't gonna let you stay where you at. You know what I'm saying?
So this is interesting. So it is a flip side to this coin too. Okay. And, you know, I was debating if this is the right time to take this. It is what it is, you know, because I've seen people, I mean, to be honest, at one point in my life, I was this person where I was extremely type A. I was knocking goals out of the park. Every goal, I was just setting another. But then it got to be at a point where I started looking around and I'm like, man, I'm spending so much time grinding, like, you know, my family, I'm not spending enough time with the family, or, you know, my health is not where it's supposed to be. And I've seen it at a much higher level than I've ever reached, where somebody will reach like the top of the echelon of what they're supposed to be doing, but they're just completely just empty.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel, it's like because they were excelling by the world standards, but inside they weren't fulfilled. And so that's something that I think needs to be addressed in this conversation also, where, you know, leadership, being average, being great, I mean, all of this is relative, and I think it's seasonal too. You're in different seasons of life and different times.
Yeah.
Let me throw in, you just really soak in everything, and we're going to get somewhere in a minute, but like, look, because you just made me think I'm about to throw another curveball in this thing. I had a conversation, okay, we were having these morning meetings, and the topic of what is success, or the question, what is success, came up a few times. And one dude's answer absolutely, like, internally bothered the life out of me. Like, I couldn't stand it. Like, I'm like, I wish I could mute you and then actually evacuate you from this meeting because I don't want anybody to hear it. And because he was saying, like, yeah, success, that's just subjective, right? It could be, success to me is different from success to you. I remember back, when in my 20s, when I was, really setting goals, I was trying to make a lot of money. I was trying to I wanted a certain house, I wanted a certain car and everything. And so, but then, over time, I just kind of decided, you know what, this is okay. You know what, success is whatever you make it. Whatever you want it to be is success. And I'm like, what bothered me in that wasn't being able to be comfortable and content with what you have. That's not the part that bothered me. What bothered me was that he was almost putting on a pedestal being complacent. He decided that because I have never achieved my goals, I should just be okay with it. He was like, because I've never done anything that I have set out to do, we should just move the goalpost a little bit closer so that I can always hit it in the goal and just be happy with that.
So that's rationalization, rationalizing your position to make yourself feel good about where you are. And to me, that flies in the face of what we're talking about here. That's exactly somebody trying to rationalize why average is okay.
Yeah, and that's like that participation trophy type of mentality where everybody shows up, we're all on the team, everybody gets trophy, and it's like the reality is no, that's not who I'm really talking to. Like what I'm saying, I'm assuming, I'm gonna go on a wild limb. I'm gonna say the people that are attracted to what we're talking about, they're probably higher achievers, right? And so. Those are the people I think sometimes you do have to downshift a little bit and kind of, look around and smell. Not a majority of people, you need to probably grind a little bit more and get a little bit more because I've always been a firm believer, like I have to accomplish certain things to be able to say stuff like, well, it's, peace of mind is really the truth, but you gotta get up to that point where
check this out, Mike. You get to that point, you can't complain about the circumstance. This is what you pulled the lever. You said, this is what I'm settling for. Don't come to the morning meeting complaining.
So it's double sided. This person acting like
they
successful, but then they complain about the success that they said.
I gotta do this, that.
That's conflicting messages.
Yeah, it is.
It's not making sense. And up here.
But but I think with Mike, you were going earlier too, that push and grind at type A. That's not the mentality of what this average person. It's not. No. That's the opposite. That's the over-indexing the other way.
They go and grind their costumes.
Well, they do
acting like grind. They ain't really.
They pretend that, hey, I'm out here getting it. I'm doing A, B, C, and D. But in reality, when you pull the hood up, it's like there's no engine there. No. It's like you got the car, you got the body, but it ain't no motor. Yeah, there's no motor. Yeah. The thing here, and I guess this is, as we talked about a couple different things, and we're talking about this average. I think we defined it to a certain degree, but it starts with. Not that person who's type A running at it, if anything, they need to kind of take the real person running, not the one pretending to be running at it. It's also understanding, and Mike, you kind of shine a light on they run a fence to grab. If you're doing something you enjoy, you find joy in, and it feeds you, I don't define it as average. I don't care what it is. You can be at the grocery store doing your thing, greeting people or whatever, and if that's what your gift is, and you're in your gift, that's not average. To me, average is if Rodney sit up here and say, you know what, man, I'm just not going to do nothing else. I'm going to quit my gig. I got enough to live off of. I just need to cut back on certain things. I can live fine and all that. But I know I got more in the tank. And that's kind of where I'm at in my life. Where I'm like, look, I could retire right now. But I feel like I got more to offer. And I feel like I could do more. So I'm like, I'm cheating myself if I don't try. You know what I'm saying?
I'd be as bold to say, for you to stop knowing that you've got more in the tank, knowing that you were made for more, you're not only cheating yourself, but you just said to God, nah, forget your plan.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not following my purpose.
Yeah, but I mean, you're doing other things though. A lot of people, when they get to the retirement threshold, 30 years and up or whatever, they kind of shutting it down. Like, you actually added more to your plate with, the ministry, the mentorship. So to me, the way I see it is like you're positioning the chessboard to be ready. You just got to move that queen, or you got to move that one piece, but you're positioning the rest of the chessboard to be laid out. So when you ready to make that move, everything's kind of set up.
No, and you're right. That's the goal. And I guess I had when I go back 10 years, I saw a cap right here. You know what I'm saying?
Ceiling.
Yeah, I saw, hey, this is it. This is the target. We're talking about the goal.
Okay.
And even you and I, we didn't talk about it in detail at the time, but I was going through that planning piece. Now it's like that ceiling's gone. It's like, I see busting through that. And that goes back to God's purpose too, because this is all part of his purpose. Yeah. Another part of it is, I'm like, just, talking about the marketplace piece too, that element is different. And whatever that looks like to me, all of us, I think we all got the same personality. It's like, God got us doing things for a reason. He has a vision he's given each one of us. And it's going to keep changing and growing, because as you go the route you go, I mean, you share some things and how you looking at some things differently than when you looked at them a few years ago. You've definitely been looking at things differently than you looked at them a few years ago. How much evolution have all three of us gone through with the plan that we had 2-3 years ago versus now?
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been exponential growth, I would say. It's like after you hit that certain threshold, and then you start, you go right past addition, and we like multiplication. Like we multiplying, we force multiplying things right now, which is good because it's like we doing it together. We kind of literally documenting what's going on, but we also do it amongst us off camera, when we have our Tuesday calls, or we just sit and kind of kick it and just like, hey, where you at? What's going on? And it's like, we're really seeing each other evolve. And I think this is really where it's supposed to be, going back to that whole average and being comfortable. I think environment plays a big part. If you're in an environment where, hey, it's okay to be like, hey, why you working so hard? Like, just relax, enjoy it. That it's kind of like, well, when in Rome, do as the Roman do. Versus if you're around high achievers, you're going to feel different being around the energies. I'm like, man, it's going to cause you to question some things.
Yeah.
And see, average changes based on that environment. Because the average of high achievers is high achievers.
Yeah. And once you achieve it, that becomes average. I mean, if you think about it, if I go back and go 5 years ago, what I thought was a high target now is average.
Yeah.
And your whole crew evolving like that, you only moving forward. It looks weird for you not to be moving forward.
Yeah.
You weird.
Well, they say though, they say like, if you want to know where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years, look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with. See where they're at. That's pretty much going to set the pace. Like, I mean, it's literally that's setting the pace. Like, if everybody in cruise control, nobody's pushing, and we cool because we doing it together. But if you got somebody who breaks out and they just really putting the pedal to the metal, either you're going to rise to the challenge or you're going to drift off. Like, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
Quick, super micro sidebar on that exact point. I've seen dudes who, I remember in high school when you can observe human nature like at scale. But like, I remember you'd be sitting, you'd have your group, you'd see another dude's group, and then there's be a dude who's like the alpha in that group. Like, he feels like he's the top dog. And then it's like, I had the awareness to be like, you feel like you've done so much and that you're so ahead of the game because your crew is all weak.
Yeah.
Ain't none of them doing nothing. So it's not much. Like, you don't stand very tall in my group. And yours, you the head and shoulders above the fellas. But you really don't, like on the grand scheme of things, you ain't really doing nothing.
Nah.
And it was so interesting. To your point, it's like that environment, that crew he was around, that fed into his mind, made him think that because he did maybe just a little bit more, that he was on top of things. But you change your environment, you change the people that you're around, your baseline, your standard raises up according to the group.
Yeah, and I hate to always bring it up, but I think social media played a huge magnifier in that. Because I'm telling you, man, I've literally, and I've said this before, but I've been in a room with men or guys, and it's like, you wouldn't even hardly know these guys were there. Quiet as a mouse. You know, you got certain guys just talking. But then on the internet, you can have this bombastic personality, and you come off like a shot caller, and it's that. David Sham did a great episode on this.
You talking about that one guy?
One guy, he was basically like, bro, you're being a false prophet because you're telling people to be bold. You're telling people to do this, but you're not doing that. You're not walking that walk.
He could even do it in an interview.
He couldn't even do it in a conversation. And it was like, but it was to me, I thought it was an amazing episode because you need to be, ideally call yourself out. You should call yourself. I called myself. I did it yesterday. Me and myself had a heated debate. No, not like, don't think I'm crazy.
Had to get him by the collar.
No, look, I had
something got to change.
No, real talk, because I'm like, I saw where my group is elevating so much in my business. I went from being, one of the guys, I'm doing a lot of real estate. Oh, you doing it? What you doing, Mike? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, doing that. Now I'm in a different group where I'm looking at these other deals being made. I'm like, dang, my little business, a drop in the bucket. And now I'm questioning, like, what the heck am I doing? I need to put the pedal back to the metal. So, but to me, I enjoy that. I seek out environments that are going to make me elevate. I don't want to be comfortable in the room, because if I'm comfortable, if I'm one of the best top guys in the room, I got to go find another room.
Yeah. When you're on the rooftop, meaning that in your crew, you are at the top and you looking down at everybody else, you will become complacent and like, hey, I'm cool because I'm at the top of the heap.
Until you look at that other builder.
Exactly. And then you wonder and see, and that where, it's interesting you say that, because that whole average feeling is like, if you are scared to go to that other building, that taller building, and say, hey man, I wonder what it takes to get up there. Let me find out, then you okay with where you are. You know what I mean? And that goes back to the group that you're around. Because some groups, I feel like we've all grown together, but we in different circles too. But we all working to kind of find that we don't want to be the top person, like you said. It's like, hey, how can I, we all for helping other people, collaborate and all that, but hey, let me talk to you, man. How did you do A, B, C, and D, or learn from them or something, you know what I'm saying? And you continue to do that. But that average to me, as we sit here and talk, is, and I like what you guys said, when you think you're on the rooftop and you looking down, and you're not looking up for what's next, and to me, that's, I'll describe average that way.
Be willing to be uncomfortable doing new things. Like, be willing to put yourself in new environments. And if you look around and, you feel that I need more elevation, go seek out new environments, seek out new people, because the universe has a funny way of, God has a funny way of providing the people, the places, the things that you need once you seek it out. Like, even with God, you got to seek God out, and everything is going to be provided, but you have to do your part.
My answer to the question of, is it okay to be average? I would just say, like, you got to evaluate what average is. And to me, if you average in the kingdom of heaven, you're an extraordinary individual. If you are average, made in God's image after his likeness, you are being fruitful, multiplying, subduing, and having dominion, because that should be average for a kingdom citizen. Then you good.
Yeah.
It's okay to be average at that point. If you're doing any less than what you were created to do, there's a problem.
If those individuals who go to church on Sunday and you're seeking God, that's great. That's great. But if you've been sitting in the pew every Sunday and not done anything for the service of whatever assembly you had for God, then that's average. You saying that I'm not going to get an usher board, I'm not going to sing in the choir, I ain't going to go out and do outreach, I'm just going to come here, listen to this message or whatever, I'm going to feel good about myself and go home.
You a thief. I goes, look, it's called a service. You are being provided for, and you ain't giving back. You're a thief. That's how I feel.
But I won't go there with Martell, but I do feel what he's saying. But the point, though, I use that for this to say this, guys and ladies, okay? The church could be the church today. It could be your household. It could be your job. It could be in your relationship. If you ain't doing nothing but sitting down and not contributing to it, you are being, in some cases, less than average.
Will a man rob God?
Yet he is robbed. All right. Anyway, we're going to stop going to church, right? But you guys get our point. I just wanted to go there for a minute. That's all.
Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Today for Tomorrow podcast. Again, if you are tuning in and you got in on episode 85 or 90, or this is your first one, we appreciate you for being here. If you came from day one, hey, I salute you. Housekeeping items.
Yes, sir. Come check us out on IG at Detroit_Investor_WCI. We have some merch available and just kind of documenting the daily life.
All right. And come check out Band 2.0, second Saturday every month, 10 to 12. Come on out. You meet us. We're in Southfield, Michigan at 28202 Franklin Road. And it's about brothers coming together, iron sharpening iron, and understanding how we can move forward and elevate ourselves.
Hey, look, also too, look, if you're thinking about coming to the service, if you're thinking about, elevating into your understanding of the Bible, we've got something absolutely amazing for you. I won't give you the full spiel, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's a resource. It's called the How to Read and Study the Bible Guide. I mean, it's going to document the things that you should know before you start reading the Bible, and then how to kind of digest the information in a way that you can actually understand it. So if you've ever looked at the Bible, and I've said this before, if it looks like Chinese to you, this is something that you want to get. It's going to be in the description. You can press the link. It's completely free, completely free. It's a video training, and it comes with a companion guide that walks you through what's in the video. You want that? Go ahead, get access to it. Share it with somebody else who you know needs it. Look, service, via value, be of service to somebody. And we appreciate it. So thank you for tuning in to another episode, and we hope to see you next week.
Jeez.